Indeed, and let's get started right into the program. Mali's President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita has said the authorities were now prepared to talk with jihadist groups in the hopes of ending an insurgency that has made swathes of the country ungovernable and stoked ethnic violence. Keita, speaking in an interview with French media on Monday, acknowledged escalating bloodshed in the country's central and northern regions, and that this has prompted a rethink in Bamako. And indeed, the country's army has suffered increasing losses in recent months at the hands of Islamist fighters who have also stepped up attacks on soldiers and civilians in neighboring countries in the Sahel region, particularly Burkina Faso. Ruth.
And Jerry, for the first time on Monday, Malian President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita acknowledged the existence of contacts with jihadist groups. He even plans to open dialogue with jihadist leaders Iyad Ak, Ghali and Amadou Koufa as Mali witnesses war and daily massacres for almost 8 years running. Alexis Calambri is the managing director of Mali Tribune and now joins us from Bamako. Hello, Alexis. President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita has expressed his willingness to begin dialogue with jihadist groups. Can we say that this is a major step forward in Mali's peace process?
Oui, bien sûr. Si vous avez suivi récemment, il y a eu au Mali ce qu'on a appelé le dialogue.
Yes, of course. Recently, Mali has witnessed what has become known as the inclusive national dialogue. It was nevertheless a great popular will, which brought together all the living forces of the nation, political parties, associations, who arrived at resolutions. And among the strong resolutions of the inclusive national dialogue was precisely the will to speak with Iyad Ak, Ghali and Amadou Koufa because they were said to be Malians, and their main demand is that an Islamic state be created. Although Mali is a secular state, Malians believe there is a way to discuss, to speak, and as well as to agree on the barest minimum. I think that this has been translated, as you would have noticed. The high representative of the head of state for the center region returned to the issue recently, and he even said that he was waiting for dialogue, and the president has just officially confirmed this.
Interesting, and this many might begin to question whether this is a right or a wrong step. But just to note here, Alexis, until now, there was no talk of any dialogue with jihadist groups. In fact, this was said to be excluded, and that the only option was that of the military. Can we then say that the military's option failed?
Alors, il faut convenir d'une chose.
We have to agree on one thing. The military option has failed in Mali. Since 2012, when Mali was in crisis, you've had the Sahel, you've had MINUSMA, you've had Seval, you've had the Balkan forces. You've had everything you want, the G5 Sahel and all that. But we've gone nowhere. Jihadist groups always scour the north. And France's option was not to dialogue with jihadists. But the reality on the ground is that it is the jihadists who have been on the ground since the peace agreements were signed. So if you can't defeat someone by force of arms, I think that fundamentally there are reasons to seek dialogue.
Alors, si vous ne parvenez pas à vaincre quelqu'un par les armes, qu'est-ce qu'il veut? Je pense que fondamentalement, il y a des raisons de chercher à dialoguer.
Monsieur Calambri, outre
and the other announcements made by President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita is the return of the National Army to Kidal, which has already begun its deployment in order to regain control of this city, which is outside the authority of the state. So would you say this act also is a strong signal of the restoration of the state? Still in the wake of the conference which brought Malians together, especially since the signing of the peace agreements resulting from the Algiers process. One fundamental point was nevertheless the return of the army to Kidal. So there have been ups and downs, there have been comings and goings, and as I would say, there have been blockades, but finally the army took to the streets today to arrive in Kidal on Friday. And it is the new reconciled army, as they call it, that is to say, the combatants who have agreed to lay down their arms and who have rejoined the national army are all part of this great movement that is really beginning to signal the army's return to Kidal.
Et j'ajoute que dans les faits, les forces
And in fact, according to President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, if all goes well, the Malian forces should actually enter Kidal in a few days, which is estimated time to reach the city through Gao, about 200 kilometers further south. Thanks so much for talking to us, Alexis. Alexis Calambri is the managing director of Mali Tribune, speaking to us there from the capital, Bamako.